Planetterrian Daily, episode 128, coming to you on July 22nd, 2026. Some interesting findings to cover today. U.S. data show the largest national gap between life expectancy and health span at 14 years. A global analysis across more than 200 countries placed the United States at the top for the morbidity gap in 2023, reaching 14.0 years. The proportional gap reached 17.8% of life expectancy, second only to Afghanistan. The work draws on Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation data, and notes that gains in life expectancy have outpaced gains in healthy years lived, especially in high-income settings. Authors conclude that future population health improvements will require reducing time spent in poor health rather than extending lifespan alone. An analysis of U.S. county data at the start of the 2008 downturn found that increases in debt-to-income ratios tracked subsequent rises in suicide incidents after adjusting for income and unemployment. The association held across multiple model specifications, suggesting financial strain operates as an independent risk factor. Researchers call for integration of debt metrics into public mental health surveillance. The study examined county-level debt burden during the recession period. Adjustments accounted for both income levels and unemployment rates. Multiple model specifications confirmed the tracked relationship to suicide incidents. Now shifting to a concrete intervention that may improve brain flexibility and well-being. Participants who received one dose of psilocybin showed measurable increases in flexible and varied brain activity that persisted for 4 weeks. Those with the largest rise in dynamic activity also reported greater personal insight and later gains in well-being. The findings point to a mechanism in which the psychedelic experience disrupts rigid thought patterns rather than acting solely through acute receptor binding. Follow-up imaging is planned to test whether structural connectivity changes accompany the functional shifts. The psilocybin study tracked brain activity changes persisting a full month after a single dose, with participants showing the strongest flexibility gains also reporting sustained well-being improvements. This extends earlier short-term imaging work by demonstrating durability of the network reorganization. Next steps include testing whether repeated low doses produce additive or saturating effects and whether baseline connectivity predicts response magnitude. Now moving from psychedelic-induced network reorganization to everyday behaviors that also shape circadian timing. Most people assume any daylight exposure or even a quick glance outside resets their internal clock. Yet the actual mechanism requires sustained activation of intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. Right now, as you move through your morning, these cells integrate blue wavelength signals over several minutes to suppress melatonin and advance your circadian phase. A memorable number is that the response saturates only after roughly 10 to 30 minutes of outdoor light, far longer than the few seconds many expect. The low UV index at dawn further means the benefit arrives without meaningful skin risk trade-offs. The practical takeaway is to treat morning light as a cumulative dose. Step outside for a full walk or sit near a window with open views rather than relying on brief indoor exposure. And watch for upcoming studies that quantify minimum effective durations across different latitudes and seasons. Shifting from daily light exposure to another common daily habit and its cardiometabolic associations. An American Heart Association review found that up to 400 milligrams of caffeine daily, equivalent to 3 to 5 cups of black coffee, correlates with reduced incidence of heart disease, stroke, heart failure, and type 2 diabetes. The same review notes that concentrated energy drinks can elevate blood pressure and provoke arrhythmias, separating source-dependent effects from caffeine itself. Data were aggregated from large observational cohorts tracking habitual intake patterns. A TUM and IFO Institute survey showed that employees with lower formal qualifications were less likely to enroll in employer-sponsored courses because they doubted skill gains would improve job satisfaction or advancement. Providing brief written information on measured returns raised participation rates measurably. The study identifies a modifiable information barrier rather than fixed motivational differences. Lower skilled workers express skepticism about career benefits from additional training. Employer-sponsored course enrollment remained lower in this group. Written information on documented returns increased participation, from individual-level risk reduction to broader environmental factors that affect food security and health. Researchers from the University of Bonn, University of Minnesota, University of Basel, and Hamburg University of Technology modeled how erosion, compaction, and dehydration reduce arable land productivity. Their calculations indicate that restoring just 10% of degraded soils would mathematically expand food production capacity by enough to feed an additional 70 million people. The study isolates human-driven degradation factors from natural variability to quantify the recoverable margin. Field surveys across multiple continents reveal that current and historical presence of browsing mammals, combined with local aridity and temperature, predict the prevalence of spines, thorns, and prickles. Sites with higher mammal pressure and drier conditions showed elevated spininess even after controlling for plant phylogeny. The work integrates paleoecological records with contemporary herbivore distributions to separate evolutionary legacy from present-day selection. Researchers examined plant defenses under varying mammal pressure. Aridity and temperature emerged as joint predictors alongside browsing. Controls for phylogeny ruled out simple inheritance patterns. Two studies detail causes of 2025 Texas Hill Country flash floods. Companion papers reconstruct atmospheric conditions and assess forecast skill for the deadliest U.S. flash flood event since 1976. One analysis isolates the role of terrain-focused moisture convergence. The second evaluates model performance in predicting rainfall totals. Both provide benchmarks for improving warning systems in similar orographic settings. The papers examine the 2025 event in detail. Atmospheric reconstruction highlights moisture convergence patterns, from large-scale environmental recovery to smaller-scale biomarker work in companion animals that may translate to humans. Lower levels of specific microRNAs distinguish senior dogs with cancer-associated muscle wasting from age-matched controls without cachexia. The biomarkers track disease presence more reliably than standard clinical scores in the sampled cohort. Because cachexia mechanisms overlap between dogs and humans, the panel offers a potential translational route for early detection in both species. From molecular detection of wasting to a technological advance that speeds microbiome profiling in another large mammal. A new protocol using Oxford nanopore technology generated species-level bacterial profiles from mare and foal fecal samples in hours rather than days. The method supports ongoing longitudinal tracking of microbiome development in the Alberata Well-Foal 2 project. Early data already reveal distinct succession patterns between dams and offspring, from rapid microbiome tools to a chemistry innovation that extends enzyme utility under extreme conditions. Encapsulation of lipase inside a designed organic polymer prevented thermal unfolding, enabling efficient catalysis with high melting substrates at and beyond the boiling point of water. The protected enzyme retained activity through multiple cycles, demonstrating recyclability under industrial conditions previously inaccessible to protein catalysts. The approach creates a molecular barrier that stabilizes tertiary structure without altering the active site. Veteran researchers from multiple leading institutions established a dedicated facility to design patient-specific genetic therapies, building on recent successes such as the custom CRISPR treatment for baby KJ. The center focuses on streamlining design-to-delivery pipelines for ultra-rare indications. Early projects emphasize safety data collection to address open questions around in vivo editing durability. The new center targets individualized genetic medicines. It builds directly on prior custom CRISPR work. Ultra-rare indications form the initial focus area, from engineered molecular stability to an archaeological record of sustained human ritual practice. Excavations at Clogg's Cave documented repeated use of specific grasses for burning in ceremonies tied to healing, magic, and cursing, consistent with ethnographic accounts of Gunai Kurnai practitioners. Stratigraphic layers confirm continuous visitation spanning 25 millennia. The find supplies the longest continuous archaeological record of such ritual plant use in Australia. 2 experiments testing messages for water aid found that highlighting the personal discomfort of not donating increased contributions more than appeals centered on positive impact or social norms. The effect size remains stable across demographic subgroups. Results suggest guilt-based framing may be underused in current nonprofit communications. The experiments compared message frames for charitable appeals. Guilt avoidance produced higher donation rates than impact or norm-based messages. Stability held across demographic groups tested, from deep-time human behavior to a contemporary public engagement project recovering prehistoric life. More than 2,000 participants are assisting in the laboratory preparation of a large prehistoric amphibian specimen at Warsaw's Copernicus Science Center. The project combines public engagement with systematic fossil recovery under controlled conditions. Completion will allow detailed anatomical study of an apex predator from the late Carboniferous. Primary research continues to refine how daily behaviors and environmental factors shape long-term health trajectories. Next time, keep an eye on further updates from the Alborada Wellfole 2 project as longitudinal microbiome data accumulate. That's Planetterrian Daily for today. If you enjoyed this, a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify really helps new listeners find the show. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nira Network. Links in the show notes. Quick tip from the network. Try modern investing techniques next. Modern strategies for Canadian and US investors. Every Nira Network show is free at niranetwork.com. Live dashboards, TSLA, SpaceX launches, the investing scoreboard are all at niranetwork.com/data. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.